Everyone. Happy New Year. We are back. I did take 2 weeks off from doing these videos and going live, but I am back and ready to tackle the new year. So I hope you are ready as well. Today we are going to be doing Q&A. All right. If you have questions, if you have topics that you want me to explain, feel free to put them in the comments. Say hi. Tell me where you're joining me from. I am so glad to be back, honestly. I did take 2 weeks off for the Christmas holiday, but as parents, some of you out there are parents, you know, when your kids also have the 2 weeks off that you have off, you don't really have time off. So I did have 2 weeks off with just spending a lot of time with family. I hope you got to spend some time with your family if you could. I know with most of you joining me, you may be separated from your family during the holidays, and those for my clients are the hardest times of year. Is that holidays that you typically will spend with family, and now you may be spending it by yourself in a country that's foreign to you. So if that is you, sending you a lot of hugs, and just know you can take steps to get you to, eventually having status, eventually being able to travel and be able to have your family join you here in the US. All right, so if you're joining me and you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments. Today is all about you. Right? We are here for you, answering your questions, making sure that you have the answers that you need before the the next administration comes in. So we are 10 days away. I know. We are 10 days away from the Trump presidency starting, the second Trump presidency starting. So I know I have like so many people asking me questions about what they should be doing, what to expect, if they, if they should be worried. What I will say is, and I get a lot of people that are permanent residents. If you are a permanent resident of the United States, you got your permanent residency, um, you went through the process to get your permanent residency. There was no fraud or misrepresentation in your process. You should not really be worried. However, you should apply for citizenship as soon as you're able to. It's harder to take away citizenship than it is to take away a green card. All right. If you have questions, you can ask me questions. All right. This is a Q&A. I want to answer your questions. So please feel free to ask questions. All right. So if you are a permanent resident, you are a permanent resident until a judge takes it away. Okay. Just to help some of you out there that are worried that your residency is going to be taken away. The only way to take away your residency is if an immigration judge takes it away. All right. Or if you choose to abandon your residency. That's also something we see where someone no longer wishes to be a resident of the US and they choose to live outside of the US full time. And maybe they have, they're able to get a B1, B2 visa to the US and travel back and forth, or they're from a country that has a visa waiver with the US and they're able to travel back and forth, so they don't actually need to live in the US to see their family, to, attend events. In those situations, people have chosen to give up their residency, but again, it takes time and effort on the part of the government to take away someone's residency. However, if you're a citizen, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to take away your citizenship. So that's why I say, as soon as you qualify for citizenship, It's really important. The qualification part, you have to qualify for citizenship. And as soon as you qualify, I typically recommend start the process of applying for your citizenship if you do want to become a US citizen, right? If you do want to, because I know there's people out there that do not want to, or they're from a country that does not allow for dual citizenship. So in those countries where you have to basically pick one or the other, completely understand you not applying for citizenship, but most countries allow dual citizenship, so look into that and see if that's an option for you. All right. If you're joining me live, welcome. Hi. Say hi. Hi, Sam. Thank you for joining me. Remember, you can ask me questions. Okay, this is a Q&A. So if you have questions, go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll be responding to your questions as I go on. All right. So in the new year, we are, like I said before, we are 10 days away from the Trump presidency, the second Trump presidency. I have to keep saying that. But a lot could happen in a week, right? In that first week, there may be a lot of activity with, like, executive orders and then lawsuits and all of that going on. Just know, whatever happens, and as it's going on, I will be updating you on what the heck is going on, right? What is going on? What is the current status? All of those things, I will be updating you on every single thing so that you stay up to date as much as possible. Again, things with the first Trump administration, things happened a lot on Fridays, unfortunately. A lot came in like at 5 o'clock on a Friday. And that meant we immigration lawyers did not really have a weekend. All right. So if they pass something new or do a change in policy on Friday by 5 p.m., there's not really a lot you can do until Monday. All right. So we then spend all weekend figuring all this out. And then there's a lawsuit first thing Monday morning, and everything is kind of rolled back. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of that this time around, but I will keep you updated every single step of the way. All right. So first question, remember, you can ask questions too. How can an immigrant who came through the border adjust status based on marriage to a U.S. citizen, U.S. resident, and take green card without leaving the U.S.? Ooh, okay, done. Cliff on Facebook asked that question. Listen, can you? So no, let's take it one step at a time. If the person entered the US through the border, the first question I usually ask is, were they paroled into the US or were they released on their own recognizance? Those are two different things. Because if you were paroled into the US, that means you can adjust your status in the US without having to leave. If you were released on your own recognizance, you cannot adjust your status unless you were later paroled into the US. Okay, so in order to adjust your status, you have to have been paroled, entered with legal documentation. So if you don't have either of those two things, you cannot adjust your status without leaving the US. There are situations where a person may be a victim of domestic violence and they are able to apply for VAWA based on the domestic violence that they suffered on the hands of their permanent resident or US citizen spouse. In those situations, they will be able to adjust their status even if they were not paroled or entered with a visa, right? But if you are if you're trying to adjust your status based on marriage and you were not paroled in the US or you did not enter with a visa, you will not be able to adjust your status through your marriage. You will have to have your spouse apply for an I-130 for you, right? Once that is approved, you'll need to apply for sorry guys. You will then need to apply for a waiver. Once the waiver is approved, then you will have to leave the US. So unfortunately, there's no straight way from entering the US without inspection to then adjusting your status, unless it's through VAWA, T visa, U visa, or asylum. All right. Next question. Excuse me, guys. Sam is asking, I'm curious about asylum cancellation of removal, how to move forward with it, how to get a green card from there. So asylum and cancellation of removal are two completely separate things, okay? If someone is in removal proceedings and they have a claim for asylum, they are allowed to apply for asylum. If someone is in removal proceedings and they qualify for cancellation of removal, they can apply for cancellation of removal. Cancellation of removal for someone that does not already have a green card before they were put in removal will require them to have had 10 years of physical presence in the US before they were given a notice to appear for immigration court. Okay, so if the person just entered the US, is in removal proceedings, they can apply for asylum if they qualify for asylum, but they will not qualify for cancellation of removal. Part of the asylum process, you can also choose to apply for withholding of removal, which is completely different from cancellation of removal. Okay, withholding of removal says you lost your case. You are removable from the US. However, we're not going to deport you right now, right? That's withholding of removal. Cancellation of removal says you not only can you stay in the US, we're not even going to remove you. And once there's a number available for you, a visa available for you, you can then become a green card holder. All right, so that's how you go from cancellation of removal to green card, is having that approved in immigration court. For asylum, if your asylum is approved in immigration court, you can then apply for adjustment of status if you have been in the US for a year. Okay, if your asylum is approved and you've been in the US for a year, you can then apply for a green card. So that's how you go from applying for asylum or applying for cancellation of removal to green card. Withholding of removal does not lead you to a green card. It just means you can live and work in the US for now, okay? So that's the difference there. All right. Next question, how does change of status to F1 work? So one, you must be in a current valid status. So if someone enters on a B1, B2 visa and they have not overstayed, they can apply for a change of status to an F1. In order to change your status to an F1, you need to apply to the school, gain admission, and the school has to actually issue you an I-20 as a foreign student. Okay, so if you apply to the school and you did not indicate to them that you are a foreign student that needs to apply for a visa, they're not going to issue you an I-20. But if you want to change your status, they must issue you an I-20 and you must apply for that change of status to an F1 before your current B1, B2 status ends. Okay, you have a period of stay. It's typically 6 months or less. So before that period of stay expires, you can change your status to F1. But you need to make sure that you have everything in order to change your status. The biggest thing to keep in mind with a change of status to an F1 from a non-immigrant visa is that you still need to prove that you have a home to go back to and that you plan on leaving the US once your F1, school education is over. You still have to show that. You have to show that you have the funds to pay for the school, because you can't rely on financial aid in the US. You have to either have the funds to pay for not just the school, but you live in here. But if you were able to get scholarships, you can use that to show that you can pay for the school. But that's really important, and you need to show that you plan on leaving the US once your education is over. So that's typically the process. What I typically recommend also, depend on how close you are to when your B2 expires, is if you have the funds to do expedited processing of um, the F1 change of status, because if you do that, you typically will have a response within a week of filing. I remember one time we did a change of status. We filed it on a Friday, and by Monday, we had a decision. So that's why I typically in these situations recommend expedited processing, so that you have an answer as soon as possible and you can decide whether to stay and try a different status or leave and try applying later. All right, next question. My friend's husband hid her green card and social security card and kicked her out of the house. Ooh, so sorry for your friend. He is not giving her documents back. She is a dependent spouse. He is not giving her documents back. She was here on an IR1 visa. She is not supporting herself and then threatening her to report to immigration. Okay, so an IR1 means that she's a permanent resident. That's number one, right? An IR1 means that the person is a permanent resident. They entered the US with an immigrant visa. That's what that means. Okay, so she has an immigrant visa when she came into the US that turned into a permanent residency the second she entered the US. If she needs proof of her status, she can request that through USCIS. So there's two ways to do it. So if you, let's say she lost her documents and it's not her husband holding her documents hostage, right? She lost her documents. What she can do is request a replacement for the green card using an I-90, right? That's an option. What I also recommend is doing a FOIA request, FOIA request with USCIS, because that will give her a record of everything in her immigration file. And sometimes it has a copy of the green card in there as well. But regardless, she needs to replace the things that she has lost. Okay? So she needs to look at it as she lost the information, she lost the documents, and she needs to replace it. And the way to replace your green card when you lose it is to file an I-90 and ask for a replacement. Okay, that's the way to do that. If you lost, and then once she gets that, she can also go to Social Security and ask for a new Social Security card as well. So typically though, Social Security will want proof of ID in order to issue a new card. So just keep that in mind. So she may have to wait until she gets that renewal, that replacement of her green card before she can then get a new Social Security card. But that would be what I typically would recommend, is just get a replacement instead of arguing and going back and forth with the husband, to just get a replacement. And then from there, she can decide what to do next. As far as the marriage is concerned, I can't comment on that. But what I can say is, if you lose your green card, get a replacement by filing an I-90. And based on her situation, I would typically also include an expedite request for that, so that she gets it sooner rather than later. And the expedite request would be based on the situation that she's in. All right. Can I get your number? So I put the banner on the bottom. It has the phone number for the office, and if you want to schedule a strategy session with me, you don't even have to call us. You can go straight to the website, lilylegal.com, click on contact us, and you can schedule a free 15-minute session with me where we talk about your situation and decide, determine what you could qualify for and what steps we can take to get you to that end goal. So remember, it's a 15-minute session, it's free, and you can book it directly on my website. But if you'd like to talk to us, you can also give us a call and we will be more than happy to schedule that for you. All right. All right. So remember, if you have questions, please put them in the comments. I'm literally here to answer your questions, and I'll be here as long as I see questions, okay? So make sure to ask me questions. This is our first live of 2025. Lord have mercy. I feel like we just got here, but it's moving so fast. So ask me questions. Let's get as much information to you all today as possible. If you are not watching my Tuesday videos, you're missing out. So the Tuesday videos are more of a sit down video where I go over a specific topic. The Friday lives are more of, giving you an opportunity to ask me questions, but those Tuesday videos are so packed with information that I don't want you to miss out on them. So feel free to watch those to just get more information. The next one coming out next week is a Know Your Rights video. We're going to be going through all the rights you have, even if you are undocumented. And that's really the key, right? If you have a green card, if you're a citizen, you know your rights, right? But most people that are undocumented do not even know that they have rights, right? They don't know that they have rights. So that's why I'm doing that video, Know Your Rights. So watch that next week. And then the one that we put out this week is all about what to expect, right? Like I said, the second Trump administration is started in 10 days. So I wanted to do that video to kind of what we can expect in the first week of the Trump administration based on what he has said and what his surrogates have said. So yeah, watch those videos and just let me know what you think. If there's specific topics that you want me to cover, please let me know. I mean it. Like, let me know, because I want to tailor these videos to what you actually care about, and make sure that you are getting as much value out of them. But just know, after the 20th, it's going to be a lot of videos on updates, right? I'm going to be giving you a lot of updates because I expect a flurry of executive orders in the first week of the administration. So yeah, after the 20th, there's going to be a lot of that. All right, so you guys asking, so follow-up question from the friend that lost her green card. Should she call immigration after filing the I-90 and tell them about her situation? So she can do two things. She can call U.S. immigration after, so basically, when you file an I-90, right? You file to replace or renew your green card. You can ask for the application to be expedited, or you can ask for temporary proof of your status. Depending on your situation, you may be able to get it expedited, but they may also offer you that temporary proof of status. So the ADIT stamp, that's what that is. So in order to get an ADIT stamp, you need an appointment with USCIS. So you can call USCIS and request an ADIT stamp. With that stamp, it serves the same purpose as your green card. You can use it to work, you can use it to travel, serves the same purpose, okay? So that's why we typically do it for all our clients, is once we file it and they don't have any proof of their status, we go ahead and request that appointment. She can also request an expedite, and then USCIS will determine if her situation rises to the level for an expedite. And if it does, they will expedite and send the card as soon as possible. So Yes, both of those things can be done by calling USCIS. The ADIT stamp appointment can be done on the uscis.gov website. On the tools, if you do all tools, there's one of the options is appointments. You can request an ADIT appointment through that. But you can only do those two things after you have filed the I-90 and have the receipt notice, because they need the receipt number in order to schedule the appointment or to know what case they're expediting. Okay. All right. Next question. How long 601A waiver take to be approved? Ooh, so those are taking about 3 to 4 years right now. Okay. We just earlier this year we got one that we filed in 2021. We got it approved in 2024. So it's about 3 to 4 years. That's what we're seeing right now. So if you feel that it's taking too long, it's not you. It has nothing to do with your case. It's just how long those are taking. Now, depending on your situation, what the hardship is, you may be able to ask for an expedite of your case. So, like I always tell you all, asking for an expedite does not hurt your case. Okay, it can actually speed it up if they agree with you that it's worth an expedite. So don't be afraid to ask for an expedite. Worst case, they say no. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. They say no to your expedite, but ask for an expedite if you feel that your situation rises to the level of the requirements. So urgency and urgent humanitarian need. All right. Next question. Why is I'm sorry. I am not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the ridiculousness of USCIS. I swear to you. Why is VAWA taking so long? I filed my case in 2020, but no decision yet. Although I got a DUI in 2023, but the charges was dismissed due to the fact I completed a court supervision. Okay. All right. So one, VAWA takes time. I tell people all the time, VAWA is not like you apply today and it's approved quickly. VAWA takes 3 to 4 years. A lot of these things take time. So VAWA is taking 3 to 4 years. We're used to that as immigration lawyers, but you as the petitioner, as the applicant, you're not used to that. You don't see that every day. This is your first time applying for these things. So of course, you're going to expect for cases to move along normal, right? When you apply for things, you expect it to move along quickly, but they don't. Okay, US immigration is one of those things you can only control so much. So right now, VAWA cases are taking 3 to 4 years. It really is. It's not you, right? However, it's really what I will say is, this is what I will say. Because you had the DUI, and VAWA, one of the questions with VAWA is, is this person of good moral character? Okay, it's really important to keep that in mind when it comes to VAWA. Yes, were you abused? Was the person a US citizen or permanent resident, right? Did you reside together? Did you have a genuine marriage? All of those things can be yes, but one of the things that they need to know is does this person have good moral character? So sometimes if something shows up on a background check, they will put a pause on the case or do a request for evidence. So if they have not asked you for the court disposition or things like that, that may be coming, okay? So if that gets flagged in your background check, it is going to slow down your case. So just know that as well. But the typical time frame when there's no issues is 3 to 4 years. And then when there's issues, it can be exponentially longer. All right. Next question. If I got my green card at a consulate, does my husband go to the same process or I apply for him inside the US? All right. So if you got your green card at a consulate, it depends. So if your husband is in the US, then if your husband is in the US and he entered without inspection, right? He didn't have parole and he did not enter with a visa. He cannot adjust his status in the US. Okay, that's really important. The only people that can adjust their status in the US are people that entered with parole, were inspected, had a visa. Those are the people that can adjust their status. If he entered with any of those things, he does not have to leave the US to get a green card. However, if he entered without inspection, he would still have to leave the US and do the 601A waiver and all that process, okay? It doesn't matter where you got your green card, whether it was at the consulate or in the US. It doesn't even matter if you were born in the US, okay? If you're a US citizen born in the US and you married to someone that entered without inspection, they still have to go through the I-130, the I-601A, and the consulate interview before they can come in with that green card. So it's not really about how you got yours, it's about if he qualifies to apply for it in the US or if he still has to leave the US. Okay. All right. Next question. If you don't use your work authorization card, would that be a red flag at the marriage-based green card interview? No. So there's no requirement that you actually use your work authorization. I just want to make that clear. So I've had clients that are 4 years old that we applied for a work authorization for. Is the 4-year-old going to work? No. But with the work authorization, we were able to get them a social security number. In some situations, the only way to get a social security number before your green card is approved is to have that work authorization. Okay? So just know that. The only way to get a social security card before your green card is approved is to have a work authorization. With the work authorization, you can then apply for social or do it at the same time so that your social comes with your work authorization. But do they expect you to work? Not really, right? There's no requirement that you use it to work, right? As long as, of course, you are not becoming a public charge. That's really the key, right? As long as you're not becoming a public charge, there's no requirement for you, the immigrant, to work. If your spouse, let's say, like, in a situation where there's a stay-at-home mom and the husband is working and taking care of the family and they don't need to work, hey, enjoy it, right? U.S. immigration is not really going to focus on whether you use it or not. They are going to focus on the finances of the family, whether the petitioner has enough income to support the household. That's more what they care about. All right. Am I safe from deportation if I have receipt number for U visa from USCIS? It's going to depend, okay? We don't know yet. So in the current administration, in the Biden administration, I would comfortably say yes, right? With the Trump administration, however, I can't say yes or no. I can say it works more in your favor that you have an application pending than you not having an application pending, okay? You're kind of safer than someone that does not have anything pending, all right? But I can't tell you yes that you're safe, okay? But you are safer than someone that does not have an application pending. What I will say is the higher risk, if you have any criminal case that comes up between, now, after you got your U visa, you have any criminal case against you, that's going to make you more of a target. So just my advice to basically everyone is don't get any criminal charges, right? No driving under the influence. If you are even a little bit tipsy, just a little bit tipsy, please get an Uber, get a Lyft, have someone drive you home, get a taxi, right? Do not endanger other people's lives and then put yourself also in harm's way with ICE by going that route. Okay. All right. Can she? All right. So we're going back to the question about the spouse that came in with a green card, an immigrant visa that turned into a green card, and then the husband took her paperwork away and kicked her out of the house. Can she apply for food stamps or other government support as she is a dependent spouse? So here's the thing about entering with an immigrant visa. You said when you came in that you are not going to become a public charge. However, comma, your spouse also said that they will support you in case you ever are in need. In this situation, the spouse is not providing the support. So if the person qualifies for assistance, they can apply for assistance, but they should also try to get employment as soon as they can, right? Limit the amount of time that you are receiving that assistance as much as possible, at least until the person is able to get their citizenship. All right. My friend was told to pay $380 instead of $700 fee for citizenship because her income last year was $15,000. She is a bit nervous. Is this right? Yes. So if your household income, right? They look at the entire household. If your household income was less than 400% of the, it is a whole math, right? Of the what's called poverty guideline. So the federal poverty guidelines that they put out every single year. If your household income is less than 400% of that, you can qualify for the lower fee. Okay. So for the lower fee, you cannot file it online. So can you pay the $350 instead of the 700 plus? Yes. But you need to make sure that you are showing proof of your income, of your household income, okay? But you cannot file your application online. You must file it on paper, okay? You need to fill it out and mail it with your 380 to USCIS. So we do that for our clients, and we make sure, we check their income, make sure it meets the requirements, and then we send it off to USCIS with the lower fee. So that is something that's new, that started April 1st of 2024. So yes, absolutely. Your friend can save some money there. Next question. Married to a U.S. citizen, but I overstayed my F1 visa. Can I still apply? The big answer here is yes. So when you enter with a visa, you had inspection. You entered with inspection, and when you enter with inspection, that means you can adjust your status in the U.S. if you are married to a U.S. citizen, because that makes you an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen that entered with inspection. Therefore, you can adjust your status in the U.S. without having to leave. Okay. Next question. My son, 18 years, he came with visa in 2012. He overstayed. Can he get green card in other way than marriage? Okay. So once you overstay your visa, your options become extremely limited. So your options will be, so if he's, so he's currently 18. So I'm going to answer this question two ways, whether he's currently 18 or he was 18 when he entered. I'm not sure which one it is. So if he entered when he was 18, he overstayed the visa, options are extremely limited, okay? He will need to either qualify for a humanitarian ground, so think U visa, T visa, asylum, those are the main ones. And then, of course, there's marriage-based, But once you overstay your visa, unfortunately, a lot of the options, like maybe switching to a student or switching to employment base where an employer can actually hire you and then maybe eventually file for a green card for you, it's no longer an option. So he's going to be limited. However, he may still have options. You want to explore those options, okay? He wants to explore those options. If he just turned 18 and has not had more than 6 months, so if he's like 18 years and 5 months, he does not actually have any unlawful presence in the US, okay? He doesn't have unlawful presence. Once he's like 18 years and 6 months, or 6 months and 1 day, he will now have unlawful presence, which will, of course, limit his options because once you have unlawful presence, you cannot adjust status in the US unless you're married to a US citizen or the humanitarian grounds, okay? And you may need a waiver. But if he wants to go through the employment route and he's still under that 18 and 6 months, he can leave the US and apply for the employment things from outside of the US and then come back with that without needing a waiver. So that's why it really matters how old he is today versus when he entered. Okay. Next question. Can my parents' spouse, hold on, I think that means sponsor. Can my parents sponsor me when my asylum case is denied? My parents are green card holders. That's going to depend on if you're married, right? Can they apply for you? Yes, but can you can you adjust your status in the US? No. So that's why that's why it really matters how old you are and what your marital status is, especially since they're green card holders. If they were US citizens and you were under the age of 21, the answer to your question would be yes, right? But since they are not US citizens yet, it's really going to depend on how old you are. If you are under the age of 18 or that 18 and but less than 6 months, 18 and like 5 months, if you're in that window, they may be able to apply for you, but you will want to leave the US before you hit that 18 and 6 months so that you're able to get the visa to come in without needing a waiver. Now, if you are already over the age of 18, you're already here, or you're married, they would not be able to file for you if you're married, okay? You'll have to be a citizen. They will have to be a citizen before they can file for you. But let's say you're not married, you're already like 19, right? You already have the unlawful presence thing going on. They can file an I-130 for you today, right? They can just go ahead and file an I-130 for you today to have it processing. They should not be waiting to see what happens with your asylum case, depending on how, when you have, if you're in immigration court, how soon is your final hearing? If you filed with USCIS, you may be waiting years for an asylum interview. So if your parents are green card holders, my recommendation to most people is just go ahead and file, have that application pending, and just know that if something, if your asylum case doesn't go well, you may have this backup. The backup is going to need you to apply for a waiver, but you have green card holder parents that will be the qualifying relative for your waiver. So if your waiver is approved, you can go to the embassy for your interview and be able to come back in. So really matters, right? So for the people asking specific questions, I can only give you like general information because I don't know your situation. That's why, I break it down like, if you're this, then maybe this. So, but if you want actual like advice based on your situation where I can ask you these questions and we can actually get me the information that I need to answer your question completely, schedule a strategy session, okay? It's a 15-minute free session. We talk about your situation. We figure out if you qualify for something and if I can help you with it. And if I can, then we can talk about what the services are and all those things. So feel free to schedule those. Like I said, it's a free 15-minute session. If you want a longer session, I do offer a 1-hour paid session. So feel free to call the office if you want a paid session. It's a full hour, and you send me documents, we review them, we figure out all the things. But most people, a 15-minute session gets you on the right track, and then we can determine if we want like a follow-up 1-hour session, or if we can work together, things like that. But minimum, schedule the 15-minute, get the information you need to make the decisions that you need to make. Because right now, honestly, I feel like, I don't know about you, but when there's something that's like on my mind, or I do a lot of research, right? We do so much research and we try to figure out what to do next, but we're not taking any action, right? You want to take action towards the thing that you want. So don't hold off making a strategy session. I don't care. Listen, would I want you to schedule a strategy session with me and maybe eventually work with me? Sure, right? I'm an immigration lawyer. I own a law firm. It's my business. It's how I feed my family. However, here's the thing. I don't care if you schedule a consultation with me or another lawyer. But in order for you to know what to do next, you need that consultation, okay? So if it's not me, please schedule it with a licensed immigration lawyer, not a paralegal, please. A licensed immigration lawyer that can actually represent you. Like I said, I don't care if it's me. My goal for you all is for you to take action. And this is one of the small actions you can take, is just getting the accurate information. Google can only give you so much, right? My videos can only give you so much. You need that personalized consultation. You need someone that can actually look at your situation, ask you questions, and figure out what you qualify for. That's what you need now. So you want to take those steps. Action, right? That's my, funny enough, that's my power word of the year. That's the thing that I am just every single day. I have to take action on my goals. So I hope you are taking actions on your goals as well. And if your goal is immigration related, please take action, all right? Especially if you're undocumented, or if you're in between status and you're not really sure which way to go. You've seen a lot of options out there and you're like, oh, do I apply for this? Do I move forward with this? Do I even qualify for this? Then ask the question. Go to a consultation, ask those questions there. All right. So, okay, I'm gonna get off my I'm gonna get off my coaching soapbox right now. I do help a lot of people, like, coach them into what they want, and that helps me, right? Like I said, my power word is action. So we are going to be taking action. The next few videos that I'm gonna have is all about the actions you can take. A lot of the things that's going to happen after January 20th is going to be out of your control, right? We know that. It's going to be out of your control. So the next two videos, the next two Tuesday videos are going to be about what you can actually do, right? What actions you can actually take today to just help you prepare for what's coming. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it wasn't too preachy. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get into a little coaching mode. But yeah, so if you have questions, let me know in the comments. If you want to take action and get your strategy session, go ahead and go to my website, lilylegal.com, and click on contact us, and you can see exactly when I'm available and schedule your strategy session. All right. Okay, so I don't see any other questions here. So thank you all so much for joining me. I truly appreciate you. And remember, our power word of the year is action, and we are going to be taking action towards our goals, including our immigration goals. All right. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, and I will see you very soon with more Q&As and immigration updates.